shit down right now. Hex Futures gave you that. That's
What's up, everybody? I hope you like that intro. Getting down and just having a good day. We have a wonderful special guest today from our community, Facing Reality. Welcome.
Good evening, buddy. Thanks for having me.
Yeah, thank you for being here. Every time
That was funny.
Yeah, right?
That intro was funny.
So, I don't really have the video editing skills, and I just
Me
thought
neither.
that I could clip this stuff and sort of put these things together.
Yeah.
So every time I talk to this guy, he gives me a new perspective, and so I asked him to come on and do something along the lines of perception, because all it takes sometimes is a little idea to formulate our mind just a little bit different and make us more powerful in this reality.
Beautiful set.
Hey, your name on Twitter is @Facing Reality, right?
No, it's actually at Erwin Janssons 4, I believe.
Oh, sweet. So, if anybody wants to know that, maybe it'll be in the chat soon. So, what I wanted to do was go through a few slides or a few tabs, a few windows. And he and I preset this up yesterday, and I'm returning to it right now. So the idea that I found a few more things facing. Did I say inviting, or did I say facing reality?
Not sure, to be honest.
Okay, so I'm inviting reality, but I might be stuck on verbally saying inviting freedom.
It's so good.
So shout out to her.
Yeah.
So
Legend.
the thing that I'm showing right now is whenever water it comes through and it comes through a tube and it's given a resonance, and then what happens here is this person can change the what is that, the physical structure that the water takes on.
Yeah. It's actually changing the medium. So even the water needs a medium to mitigate in or migrate in. Or
Okay. And to talk about like how life-changing this information could be, then I found this clip where it's a gal that has never heard before, and all of a sudden she has hearing aids that allow different people, they're hearing for the absolute first time. Can you imagine like being in that hospital office?
Yeah.
I would want to have a piano right next to me. I wouldn't want like it should your device should be on. I wouldn't want that to be the first thing that I ever hear.
No.
I'd want to
Could
hear
you imagine having
violins.
that job, always getting a smile as soon as you do that to
Oh my gosh,
kid,
this is probably the most
joy.
rewarding.
Yeah.
Whew. Like Christmas and giving just doesn't mean anything after this. The ears are so they're so tender. It's almost like we're talking about something that happens in the bedroom. All right, so I found this. I saved this image just a few days ago, where an article came across Twitter and said, like, this is the world you live in. Here's all images of the sizes, or this one's the sizes. So here's
That's
Texas.
Texas, isn't it? Yeah.
on the map that we're told, overlapping Africa on the map that we're told. I just thought that was interesting, like the size, and
Yeah.
maybe I'm a little bit biased because I'm right in the middle of Texas. But it looks like Texas and Ethiopia and Nigeria are about the same square, and Tanzania about the right square mileage. Okay, so this is another video. Gosh darn, I want to get this one on audio. Screw it. So the audio situation that I'm up against is I'm having issues here and there. So let's just play this. What this person is saying is that these are beautiful marble structures carved by people with hammer and chisel from a single block of marble. Stone netting. The stone netting alone could not be replicated today. It's not just the statues, but the architecture as well.
Yeah, correct.
It is clear that we are progressing backwards, the narrator says. That one's crazy one. Oops.
Yeah.
Yeah, this right here, this
I mean, how do you explain this or justify it?
when we were in architecture school, they only had so much time to teach us things. And often things became minimal, and we would make fun of boxes, but we would invite minimalism. So like box stores, we always made fun of it because it was like, yeah, of course we know where the entrance is. It's that dark spot in the box over there. And as we're walking across a parking lot, but yeah, just like taking the ornament off of your buildings, because I believe that these two are the same building, just 100 years difference. That's so sad. They
Look at
took away
the
the roof and they made a flat roof. And something that allowed them to make that flat roof was petroleum. Petroleum products allowed you to have flat roofs. What were you going to say?
on the top picture, you will see that something that reoccurs in every old picture is the antenna that you see, the left one, the one with the horizontal bars.
Mm-hmm.
And this,
Yeah, like the power line, or what looks like a power line,
that
but
one.
it's taller than a power line. Look at this other power line.
Yep. And if you look into old pictures, all of them, every street, every house had that antenna.
I'm glad we covered that. At the end, they say, research the mud flood, follow Tartaria, and follow me for more content.
Yeah, Tartaria is also a misknown concept or misrepresented, unfortunately.
What's Tartaria about?
Because within the community from truth seekers, or let's say it like that, Tartaria is an era or a time period where these structures came from, but in reality it was just a region within Russia that was called the Tartarian land. But people now wrongfully call this whole era that existed over the whole world Tartaria, but it's misunderstood.
Diraj is in the comments. Of course, you can join via the link that's in the Telegram chat. It was placed there yesterday. And actually, I'll place it in the chat right now. Okay, so this is Anchor Watt. I believe that's what this one is.
You might be right.
And I've admired this structure I never have been there. I think it's in Myanmar, Burma. And my understanding is whenever people came across this, it was covered in jungle. I think that the temple is like basically a structure that nobody would actually know how to make. Instead, they're just sort of instructed, almost like it's just an instance.
Yeah. I love these buildings, the symmetry that it represents, and the calm and the natural feeling. I don't know. When you look at those, I was to Bali once, and most of the time we took to watch all the buildings and just admire them and thinking, how did they do it? How many years did it took to just supposedly carve out one facet? It's really fascinating.
Yeah, is this one big piece of something? It looks like it's stained like limestone, but yet then it would be something else to withstand the weather for so long.
I can't say for all of them, but I have seen some research from independent people where a lot of the material that was used, there was biological matter in it, and multiple compounds, and that's usually only found in cement or mixing or concrete or those kind of things. So that makes you think, how did it get there pre this technology? Because these structures were supposedly thousands of years old.
Yeah. Caltex, hey, what's up, man? Jay, everything. Thanks for being here, man. Power stations is what Jay Everything says.
He's correct.
Sweet.
Yeah.
1 point.
Yep. They were all on, and that's also the reason why most of the structures and the elements that they used to construct it had to be electrical guided. So usually there was iron rebar or some kind of copper or alloy put into, or even within the mixture of the brick, so it could conduct energy and power. And when you look at frequency and the pattern that frequencies generate, all of a sudden, all the shapes that those buildings have make sense.
Yeah, the shapes make sense once you understand the technology that they're utilizing.
Correct.
So we think that it's dead shapes, or we're taught to think that they're dead shapes.
Yeah, just for showing off wealth, or for social signaling, or for just aesthetics, but couldn't be farther from the truth.
So where we're going to go with this talk is here's a trigger warning. Trigger warning. Because we're going to go down a route that is meant to shake us a little bit. And so let's get shaken a little bit, and then let's find a foundation, and then let's dream forward. And a lot of you folks are not going to pick up what's being thrown down, but just keep it as a possibility, because we're going to shake your reality, or facing reality is going to make you face reality.
Well, at least I'll try.
Because his face is getting melted, and he's tired of being alone with the face being melted. It's like bees in a hive, where they rotate from interior to exterior in order to keep the queen and everybody exposed to the same amount of it's actually cold temperatures. I think that they do that. Okay, so here we are with, oh, I have another slide about the architecture layout.
Oh, beautiful.
And I just found this. I have not looked into this, but I think what it's saying is that there are 3 towers to the left that are there just for the technology, and then this one over here to the right actually has it to where a human goes inside of it. So maybe you get a download, maybe you get an upload. So I mean, here we are questioning these temples and stuff, and I'm expecting us to also question pyramids and things like that that are found all around the world. To give you a perspective of like how silly we are here on the earth and how divided we are, this is a map that I found with that Texas and Africa overlay from the same poster, where they were showing us how many countries are still on the empirical standard as opposed to the metric system. So everything in gray, that country has adopted the metric system officially. And here we are with Liberia and was it Liberia? Or did I say that? Yes, it's Liberia, because I get Libya and Liberia confused just because I never have been over there. So Myanmar, Liberia, and the United States.
And Alaska.
Well, Alaska is the United States.
Okay.
Well, Alaska could be something of its own, right? And
Yeah.
for all we know, well, tell me about Alaska. What do you know about Alaska?
I know it's close to the North Pole. Something that has been hidden from us for a very long time.
I know that the economy is completely controlled by oil and like the oil industries, and the prices to live can just be sky high, as if you were in Antarctica in a controlled lab experiment situation. But yeah, there's either you're there for vacation or you're there for work, but prices are making it to where you better better be a Hexican or you better be working. By the way,
is that expensive now to get to Alaska?
Oh yeah.
Yes, it used to be cheap as they literally paid you to live there. I can recall.
Oh no, man. I don't know about subsidies, but yeah, prices are at least 4 times more because they're flying everything in.
Like literally, yeah, makes sense.
And maybe I don't know where that's coming from, like Washington State, Vancouver. So, oh, I had something right there. It was right on the tip. I stayed up late last night on a live stream that was a last minute thing, and this guy named Trap Gravity and this other guy named
Love Trap.
this other guy named Crypto Kef.
Crypto Keef. Oh yeah.
You spell his name Keef, but what happened was like some like high up in some organization was a part of a Twitter space, and she called him up to be a speaker and said like, all right, we have a new speaker. His name's Crypto Kef, and it's clearly Keef, Keef. But from then on, he got that name. But last night, he changed his name officially because Trap was talking to RG3 during RG3's Syndicate live stream Monday night thing. So he said, Trap said, anybody who has crypto instead of Hex in their name is suspicious. So
oh boy.
So his good buddy over there, they're both Louisiana boys. His good buddy changed from Crypto Keef Kef to HexKef. So if you want to follow either of them, it's at trap_gravity on Twitter, and CryptoKef is at Murder Sauce.
I didn't know that. That's funny.
Keltec says,
Should have watched that one then.
"Oh, it was
Discord Syndicate. Was it good?
Oh, okay, yeah. Yeah, it was pretty good if you understood the little jabs that were happening, like
Oh, yeah.
behind the scenes sort of stuff. Keltec says hot as hell, and also Kif. So maybe we could pronounce it Kif. Daraj, are you coming in here? I put the link in the chat. He said that he was interested in coming in on audio only. Guys, if y'all would share the chats or share the link in chat rooms for me, please. So what are we looking at here, Facing?
What are we looking at?
We're looking at a map. Oh. My bad, dude. My bad.
Oh, the new stand-up map by Gleason.
This is called Gleason map. It is what everybody uses for naval or air travel.
Both.
Okay. Things look a little bit different.
Correct.
Like Australia down there.
Yeah, it's not the same shape as we thought it was. That's correct. It's more elongated.
Do you have any ambition to check out Tasmania?
When I got everything done that I want to do for my family, that's one of the things I'm going to do for sure. I'm going to travel and explore everything, because that's one of the things that we found out, that we can still explore. We can still figure things out. It's not like how it was when we were taught at school that, yeah, we figured everything out. All you need to do is memorize this book. Now we know there's way more out there that can still be explored, and even technology that can still be realized.
So what do you mean by when you get everything situated for your family? Like without giving us too much info to then haunt you later?
Yeah, I mean, the world isn't getting a better place, and if we're realistic, we are just way too dependent on somebody else for our existence or survival. And that is something I want to take into my own hands again. So I'm starting my own homestead, bringing my family-in-law, brother-in-law. My dad wants to stay here, unfortunately, but everybody that wants to join can come with me. I will build a small village for everybody, make sure everything is self-sustainable with their own food, their own energy, so that I don't have to worry from outsource things to survive. And as soon as I've got that all figured out, then I'm gonna explore. Probably with Poltergeist. He's one of my buddies.
All right. We said trigger warning earlier, Keltex. Keltex says every 2D representation of a 3D thing will be distorted in every possible way.
I completely agree.
Every
map known to man isn't exact. There's no map on known to man that is accurate by any means. But if we truly want to use something for approximation with traveling, this is the best that we get.
So I gave him a trigger warning and he returns the warning.
Returns the warning. That's funny. Yeah.
Okay, so what more do we have to talk about this map, Facing?
Well, it explains everything. It explains all the flight routes. It explains all the maritime routes. It explains why we have a jet stream. It explains how the ocean currents could be the way that they are. It explains a lot of things that makes no sense on the other model.
Cool. Turin, welcome to the chat. Let's go to the next slide. The world map.
Yes.
Where the heck did we get this slide from?
This is literally a negative or a colored map of the moon. So our moon is actually somewhat of a negative of our reality where we live on. So everything that you see on the right bottom side is just colored in dark spots from the moon, and they perfectly align with our reality or our map of the world.
This area
This is way
here,
more accurate than anything else.
where my cursor is
Mhm.
circling an area that is meant to be that flat. That
level
last map.
plane. Yes.
The last map here, the extents of this circle, where this one shows that Antarctica is going all the way around.
Correct.
In the representation of the map, and taking it literally, here is the circle as well on this photoshopped play of the moon.
Correct.
Cool.
So the outer side red ring is actually what we call the ice wall or Antarctica. And then the ring within it is the outer ring that the sun and the moon travels when everybody in the north or in the center has his winter. And then the sun and the moon will slowly spiral inwards. And this is when we get our summers and Australia gets its winter. This is how the seasons work.
There are these red lines
Yeah.
on the inside.
Yeah.
And
so the
red
third
lines
line
on the
is
outside.
actually the equator.
This one here?
Yes.
You think?
That's your equator line, I think. Or maybe the one below
Maybe
that
it's
one.
this one? Oh, maybe
Yeah,
it's
it's really
this one?
it's really slow for me on here. Let me check on my big screen.
Oh, I could go closer. So we just
Here
need
we
to figure
go.
out what this symbol is.
Yeah, you have your meridian, Cancer, Tropics, Capricorn. This one is made by Vibes of Cosmos. He's a Greek, genius. The guy is so incredibly smart. It took so much time to figure this all out and actually map it, because this is accurate.
The first time I heard this theory, or what are we calling it?
I call it level Earth.
The first time I ever heard about the looking at the moon and finding a reflection, it was just one of those things where I took the information, I put it on the shelf. This is the first time that I've ever returned to it. The first time I ever heard it was probably only a year ago. But for somebody to find it is really interesting. Like how did you? But God, I know that people are just sitting there staring at the moon and taking images, wink, wink, of the moon.
Yeah,
we've got some personal images or personal shots of his from his home camera. Welcome to the stream, Red Squirrel.
Oi, oi.
Oh, he put it there. So I hope everybody can understand that the idea here is that the outer line represents where ice would be because it's away from the inner sun line, and the inner lines is like one of them is the Tropic of Cancer and one of them is the Tropic of Capricorn. So that's the area which the sun moves. Does the moon move within that same area that the sun moves? Okay.
They're on the same level as altitude. They also at the same distance from the center where they revolve around. Only one travels faster than the other, so they overtake. And the moon takes 28 days to make a full revolution. And then pretty much 2 days we don't really have a moon. That's why we call it a new moon, because it's magically gone.
So why does it matter that we even care about this sort of stuff, or what it
I
is
thought
that
the
we live
same.
on?
Yeah, I thought in the beginning I thought the same, especially when somebody somewhat introduced this whole theory to me, and I was a NASA fanboy. So I was, oh my God, this guy is crazy. I'm gonna smack this with a lot of science. Still trying. And that's the hard part. And then you start thinking to yourself, yeah, but what does it matter? What does it really matter? But it's just an excuse for yourself to not feel uncomfortable, because it's a really uncomfortable feeling that you've been duped and lied to all your life. And then you don't want to accept that feeling. So you're already starting to make excuses for yourself why you don't want to feel that way. So you're going to say, yeah, what does it matter? I don't care. But in reality, you do care. But when you truly go deep into it and see the ramifications of it, because it goes through the whole educational system, it goes through a lot of parts of science. A lot of the science that we now perceive as science is actually based off the heliocentric model. So when the heliocentric model would fall, a lot of other things would follow as well, like space, dinosaurs, Big Bang, germ theory, evolution. The list goes on and on and on. All these things are derived from the heliocentric model. So it does matter. And within the heliocentric model, you are nothing. You're a speck of dust hurtling through space. You have no meaning. But in reality, we're actually geocentric. We are the center of the universe. So we are important because we are the center. Now all of a sudden you have meaning. And I don't want you to have meaning or feel special. According to them, you're space dust, remnants of an exploding star that magically became you through evolution. I would say cool story, bro.
And because we believe that we are just stardust and meaningless, then what?
Then you're easily controlled. They can make you believe and steer in every direction that they want. And that is what clearly happened throughout the past decades. They start with predictive programming in news, schools, movies, television, everything. And then decade further, all those things come true. But now you're already conditioned to believe everything they tell you, because the concept was already brought to you for so many years. Take the virus, for example. So in 2000, they already, I believe 2010, 2008, I'm not really sure. They started with the whole virus thing. So we had the bird flu, the cow sickness, then Ebola, SARS. Every 2 years, like clockwork, we were bombarded with a new flu or a new virus. And even though all the farmers said, there's nothing wrong with my livestock, we had to burn them, but supposedly there was a fire. All the movies and series went about pandemics, viruses, zombies, cures. It's all predictive programming. So as soon as this whole pandemic came, everybody fell for it. We were already so conditioned in believing that the whole concept itself was there that it didn't take any effort for us to just follow along. And that's because they took your gut feeling away. They took your natural senses away from school, making you believe in a heliocentric model where we literally are living upside down while spinning 1,000 miles an hour, while following the sun 66,600 miles an hour, while the sun is traveling through the galaxy with, I don't know, 150 million miles an hour, while the galaxy is moving upwards 1.5 billion miles an hour. That is 7 different factors. You don't feel anything. So now you can't trust your common sense anymore. You can't trust your senses anymore. Because your senses don't see anything curving. Your senses don't feel anything spinning or moving. But yet your schooling system is telling you you're actually moving and spinning. And now you can't trust your own senses anymore. And then it's really easy to make you believe whatever they want. So it is really important.
Yeah, so we're on a petri dish, and people who want to control us are able to have a controlled experiment.
Yeah, like literally, there's so much more land that they control because they literally control every flight path and every maritime connection, that they can literally hide land in plain sight because they control every path that we take. And according to this map, there's way more land that we don't know of, that it isn't depicted on either the globe or the Gleason map. And it's big, like really big.
So things that I've found as outliers in my life. So I do have connections, or I do have friends who applied to be scientists stationed on Antarctica. So I do understand how exclusive it is to be in Antarctica, and I do understand that it could be guarded by military and people will be turned away at the edges, to where like you can't live on Antarctica unless you're a part of the unless you're approved, and then only then would you be in a testing facility, in a lab, an observation facility. Another thing that was an outlier to me was the moon. Only one side of the moon faces us.
Yes.
It goes around we're told it goes around our planet exactly the same speed that it rotates itself. So it's, for every one revolution that it does around the Earth, it does one revolution itself. And to me, it's like that, the occurrence of that, it's just astonishing, like, that not only are we able to live this wonderful life and have all these things put together, but also we have this orbiting rock that always, it doesn't overdo it or under revolve. Instead, it always faces the same. Yeah. All right. So
yeah, they
that's
call it tidally locking.
Tidally locking?
Yeah.
Titles?
So
Yeah,
the moon
okay.
is tidally locked to the Earth. That's how they call it within science. But like you were saying, it needs to be exact. It can't even be a millionth of a degree off. If it would either spin a millionth of a mile quicker or slower, we would actually see a change in the moon. But yet it doesn't. And like you're saying, the possibility that this occurring naturally within a dynamic system that is the heliocentric model is pretty much zero.
Another outlier that I had in my life. The only teacher in college education level that told me that I could that they would help me out, or I could contact them and possibly get some help in a lecture, from a lecture room to the professor offering their services. The only time this ever happened to me was when you make an A in geography class.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm sitting there laughing because, like, this was like soon after this, I was starting to wake up. But as this was happening, I was just like, another A on my belt, bumps up my GPA. It was an elective course that I had to take in a certain area of the university in order to get my credits, But I took it there at Texas Tech University, and it was the only time ever. Oh, there was a lab off to the side of our lecture course, so it was almost like you had two classes. It was the only time that a teacher had ever said, now that you've made an A, if you ever need anything, if you ever have any questions, come to me. And it's almost like securing that that mental bubble that he was meant to put me in.
Yeah.
And I was in a class of probably like 150 or 100 people. This was a lecture situation. It was not in my college. I was in College of Architecture. This was in College of Geography or something. Geology, sciences, over there in the science building, I guess. Okay, so when you experience these things where things are just a little bit different, please take that information and digest it. Maybe it's just that I'm a young man who thinks that I have something to prove, so that's why I kept it with me. I don't know. I haven't contacted back that professor, but I want to. That would be awesome if we just had him on here, and
Ah,
I haven't seen him for 20 years, and that would be
that'd be
just
epic.
kind of fun.
Yeah.
To be like, what do you think about this? Like you say it's this way, but it could also be this
Correct.
way. All right. So I hope that everybody has had experiences similar. So let's go to the next slide. All right. So this was something you sent me after our conversation yesterday.
Yes.
And this is a really, really hard pill to swallow for myself.
Mm-hmm.
Please tell us, what the hell am I looking at?
So what you're looking at is actually the plasma beam that is probably projected from out Polaris, or the actual center of the Earth, and it bounces off the firmament and creates a focal point. So you got to see it as, if you take your magnifying glass, by focusing all the sun rays to a focal point, you can create a hotspot in midair. And that is essentially what is going on. So the sun and the moon that we are observing is actually a hotspot or a focal point of reflection, and probably plasma-like. This is also the reason that it's all relative. So everything we see, or anybody that observes the moon or the sun, it's relative to you. We create our own image of it because it's a reflection. And the easiest way for me to try to explain it is, if you're standing on the shore and you see the sun going down, the sun will actually draw a line to your feet. So you will see the sun, you will see a line of light traveling over the water to your feet. But somebody next to you, 100 meters next to you, will see exactly the same thing. And 100 meters further will see exactly the same. But you don't see each other's lines. So it's all relative to you. It's really hard to explain, but that's the best I can do.
So is this saying that there's a hole in the center of our flat-ish plane?
Yeah, could be.
Our level Earth being a hole in the middle of it? Is that what it's showing? Okay.
I mean, there's a reason why they hide the North Pole. Nobody knows what it is, where it is. It's not depicted on any map. You can't go there. If you go to Google now and try to find the North Pole, all you will see is ocean. There's a reason why they hide it. It's the center of our known reality.
Talk about, it says electromagnetism
Hmm.
comes from below. Talk about
Yes,
is this a good time to talk about batteries?
sure. Because the sun and the moon are all, it's electric. And if we see the sun and the moon as an anode and a cathode, and we'll take the salty water as an electrolyte, we now have a battery. A battery is literally the same thing. It's an anode, a cathode with an electrolyte that can conduct electricity. It's just in the air. And the sun and the moon aren't the same wavelength. It's not the same light. It's not the same temperature. They want to make you believe that the moon is actually reflecting sunlight, yet it's a completely different color, different wavelength, different temperature. How can a reflection of something else be something else? That's like driving your car past a mirror, and on the other side of the mirror, it's now all of a sudden a Volkswagen Golf. So the reflection of your car in the mirror is a different car. That's not how a reflection works. So if the moon supposedly is a reflection of light that is put there by the sun, let's put it like that, it should have the same wavelength, the same temperature, the same frequency, but it doesn't. The sun heats and the moon cools. The sun preserves and the moon decays. So if you leave something carbon-based, organic in the sun, it will conserve it. That's why we sun-dry food. If you put it under moonlight, it will actually decay 10 times faster if it do without moonlight. So it's got completely different properties. The same as if you take a temperature probe, and you put them out on a bench at night. One is exposed to direct moonlight, and one is in the shade of moonlight. Then the one that is exposed directly by moonlight is actually 3 to 5 degrees cooler than the one that's in the shade of the moonlight. So it does exactly the opposite of what we know from sunlight. Everything within the shade is cooler than what is in direct sunlight because it heats up. And with the moon, it's exactly the opposite. So everything exposed to direct moonlight will cool down, and in the shade will stay warmer.
Hey guys in the chat, some of the comments I don't think are directed towards us. Y'all are having a conversation. And then also some of the comments are like, I don't know how to address that. So I'm letting it go. Red Squirrel's understanding that it's an electric universe now. And Jay Everything says, or is asking if you're Dutch. Are you Dutch?
Yes, I'm Dutch. Yeah.
Sweet.
That's
He
correct.
nailed it.
Thank you, man.
So,
and he's correct. It's an electric universe. Everything revolves around electricity, vibration, and magnetism. And yeah, vibration, frequency, magnetism, electricity is magnetism. So yeah.
what we're looking at now is, I believe, like a 1650 map of the moon.
Beautiful.
I think so.
Yeah.
And so whenever I first saw this, my first questions for Facing was like, hey man, what are those what are those lines that are like parallel here, parallel there? Why have those things? Like, is this a part of a structure, like a man-made thing? And then if it is that we overlay the idea of our circle being over here, our known world, or what we believe the world to be, it's so interesting. Like, why? What is this stuff? Is that man-made?
Who knows? All we know is that all the black stuff that we see on the left side of the moon is just land that hasn't been explored yet by us, probably by them, because there will be people that know that it actually exists, because we have way more land that is probably occupied right now that we don't have any knowledge of existence of.
So basically, everything on the left side of this circle
Mhm.
Does not exist in the understanding of most people.
Correct. But even on the right side, there's a lot of land missing.
Mm-hmm. And
because
so
this is depicting way more than we know.
there's also you mentioned earlier. There's also continents that are kept under wraps because flight paths.
Mhm.
That's very interesting. So like there's 2 continents or something within this area over here that we could stumble upon if it was that we were just wandering around with a plane. Let's go to the next one.
This is really interesting.
All right. I can't wait for you to explain this because I did not get an explanation yesterday.
No.
We had a conversation and then he sent a few pictures after our conversation. So I'm looking forward to this. What am I looking? It looks like the Big Dipper is being mapped, and that this is proof that we're rotating around the North Star, or
Correct.
the North Star is the center.
Yes. So the North Star is literally the center of our constellation, and every star revolves around Polaris and resets every year. So when you take a picture of Polaris and you do it during the spring, the winter, the fall, and the summer, it will actually create a swastika. And a swastika was actually a sacred or a holy sign. It's a really important sign that was used throughout whole history. Every architectural building prior to 70, 50, maybe a little sooner, would be depicting a swastika. The same as the eagle. The Romans, Americans, like all of them, Egyptians, they all use the same symbols. And you got to think of yourself, why? Why do all the people all over the world, all these different civilizations, use exactly the same symbols? Because they had common knowledge that they want to hide us from us now. So how did they do it? They needed to make the swastika a bad sign. And I think we all know how they did it, even though it's actually a sacred symbol or sign. But they created the reset during the Second World War and made it something bad, while it actually isn't. But this also proves or disproves the heliocentric model. Because if the heliocentric model was true, you would never be able to take a picture of your galaxy or of your star every year at the same time, at the same place, and see the same stars year after year after year after year. If you're actually spinning 1,000 miles an hour while traveling the sun 66,600 miles an hour, while the sun is traveling through the galaxy with 150 million miles an hour, while the galaxy is going through the universe 1.5 billion miles an hour. And yet the sky is the same every year. And this is also the reason why they had to come up with the theory of relativity. One of the main reasons.
Red Squirrel says that he remembers watching Thunderbolts of the Gods years ago. Are you familiar with that documentary? I just
No.
looked it up on YouTube.
No, I'm not.
Red Squirrel, fill us in on what is the punchline to that?
Punchline to what?
The documentary, Thunderbolts of the Gods.
Oh yeah. Let me check.
Keltex, tell us what is not true.
official movie. You can watch it on YouTube. Nice.
Yeah, it's an hour long.
Not familiar with it. Sorry.
Keltex says, question mark, we are in the age of Aquarius?
You know what? I have a beautiful app on my phone. That's funny that we come there, because our current maps, we are still using Cancer and Capricorn, even though we are in completely different constellations. So actually those two meridians should be changing as well, but we're still using an old map that is literally a date stamp. When they made the map, it was in Cancer and Capricorn. So this is why we use them as meridian lines, even though they keep on changing.
Jay Everything has a nice glass of Wash It Down for Keltex. Red Squirrel is informing us that the Electric Universe thesis started with that documentary.
Oh, nice. I mean, for me, the universe is everything directly surrounding us. Within the heliocentric model, space and the universe is completely different, something different. It's all hypothetical. So we look at this in the sky and we think and presume what it is, and then create a really beautiful story, and then pay NASA $69 million a day to make a beautiful CGI imaging for something that you already knew what you wanted to see. So it's really funny.
And to run the facilities, the AC, and pay for the guys to walk in and out of the building with suits on.
Yeah, exactly.
That's literally what this
Spandex.
shit is.
Yeah.
If you want
spandex shoot.
Okay, so here's another thing. Neil deGrasse Tyson, right?
Yes.
He literally tells you in a commercial on YouTube,
yeah,
that what is it? That it's something about like, if you, I'm really sorry that I'm fucking this up, but like, it's so disrespectful that it deserves for me to fuck it up. It's at the level of like, if you think you know something, if you're stupid enough, then let me tell you how stupid I am to tell you about how stupid you are. I mean, it's,
yeah.
you know what I mean? Like, if you
makes no sense.
think that humans know everything, you the listener, if you think you know everything, blah 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 blah, you are stupid, blah blah blah, stupid stupid stupid. Come here to this human who knows everything. And it's like, and then he does a little mic drop bullshit too.
Yeah.
And he's playing the culture game as well. I do notice his black skin. I do notice how relative or how relevant it is. And I had a girlfriend that I didn't like how she didn't try to progress herself. And I feel sorry for her, because this whole world and her parents have let her down. But I just wanted her to participate a bit more in the false world, in order, like, you know, the makeup of gaining money and stuff. I wanted her to like strive harder, and so that's one of the reasons why we broke up, was just because I didn't see this girl as being a provider. But she once told me that, like, yeah, what she's been doing is resorting to Netflix, watching Netflix and watching Neil deGrasse. And I told her, like, hey, doesn't it make you feel weird that like all of the imagery that you're being shown there is made up with CGI? And isn't it weird that he tells you that you're, like, how stupid you are, and then let me bubble up some theory below all that. It's almost like the commercial is a weed out process, and then it's like, okay, now anybody who's stupid enough to click on this Netflix thing to watch this thing after I told them what, the in and then out immediately, then they're stuck, and they're infinitely entertained. And what I'm talking about here is like that secondary education classes that they're doing on YouTube, right? Where they've got this professional. We've lost a few viewers since I've been on this rant. We've got these professionals that come into Netflix and are doing these classes, right? Are you aware of this? Oh, you're muted. Somehow you're
No,
okay.
I
Okay.
haven't watched TV in 17 years, I think.
Okay. Well, I see commercials off of YouTube. I think that's where I'm seeing this stuff.
Oh yeah, I get YouTube Premium, so I don't see that either.
Oh, okay. Yeah, I'm not paying for premium, but that makes
I
it to where
just
you can do
hate
clips, right?
it. Yeah, yeah. I love
Yeah.
Premium, to be honest. It has a lot of features if you use Premium or YouTube a lot, especially if you like to listen to, let's say, YouTube videos on your telephone. Then usually you had to keep your telephone open to keep on watching the YouTube video. Now you can just black screen your phone, put it in your pocket, and still listen to a stream or whatever. So one of the perks that I really like, because I still work a lot of hours a day, and it's easy to then listen to or Twitter Spaces or just a YouTube video, put your earbuds in, and I got 12 hours of education while I'm working. Love it.
Yeah, I agree with that. I fell in love with podcasts back in the day, so
Yeah.
that I could do one thing that was, necessary in order to survive, and then better myself.
Yeah.
And I too have looked at um, the positives of YouTube official or whatever in order to go to black screen, because it's almost like a podcast audio just running in the background.
Yeah, yeah.
Totally. Does your pocket heat up whenever you've got that going on?
Not if I'm using YouTube, but Twitter Spaces, yeah, that will burn your phone. But YouTube,
Mm.
no. Like I could literally listen 8 hours straight to YouTube videos and only use 10-15% of my battery. It literally doesn't drain it at all. It's beautiful, to be honest.
Okay,
But it's
so
a lot of money, but it's $20 a month or something. It's insanely expensive for what
oh,
it's.
I
Yeah,
thought
it's.
it started out as only like 5, right?
I
Or
think I
like
should look.
3 and a
I think
half?
last time I checked, it was 18 or 19 euros. Yeah,
How are we doing on time for you?
I'm fine. I can do this
Okay,
for
me too.
hours.
Let's see. For Finn, whenever I said we lost a few, then Finbear said you gained one. Finbear
Yeah.
popped in.
Yeah.
He's on the road right now.
Okay.
So he's not going to be joining us. Let's see. For anybody who would like to join, audio only is a possibility as well. The link is in the chat right
Let
now
me
underneath Hex
smoke.
Foodies.
Yeah, if anybody has any questions, I can ramble about this forever.
So I'm going to press play on this. And I think what this does is it goes through showing us example or laying out the different areas of our reflection moon or reflected level Earth. So We're zooming in now to Africa. Can you see Europe?
Yes.
Yeah. So there's Europe is here. So this
Mhm.
is the Mediterranean and Morocco and Africa. And so that means that this is India.
And you have Russia on top.
And they're calling this plasma moon map exploration. So
Yes.
plasma moon. What's
Yeah,
that
because
about?
it's because it's a reflection. It's like a projection, and plasma is light. So it's the same as we can project images in thin air, or the way we do it now with the, what's it called again? God, I forgot. So it's a plasma. There was a scientist in the 60s, I believe, and he was really close in proving everything. And this was right around the era of the Apollo missions, and it was on national television. They were saying, yeah, we're going to the moon. And this professor said, how are you going to go to something that is translucent? You can't land on something that is translucent. And he had all the proof and evidence that this moon was probably a plasma. And I believe 2 weeks later, he was gone.
Oh yeah. That's the guy who said it on television back in the 60s, right?
Yes. Like all the astronauts, Russian astronauts, there was a American astronaut. They all told the truth and couldn't lie anymore, and or mysteriously disappeared, mysteriously had a heart attack, mysteriously committed suicide. It's yeah. It's not hard to keep this a secret if there's only what 29 people that went to space.
I'm starting to recall what it is Neil deGrasse Tyson says, and it's in the freaking commercial where he says like,
Oh, was that the
you
Super
have to
Bowl
be
commercial? No, not the
you
Super Bowl, but yeah.
you have to be smart enough to know when you're stupid enough,
Yeah.
and that's why you have to listen to me.
Yeah.
You
It's
know what I mean?
circle jerking.
It's like, what did you just do to me? Where if you're appealing to my ego,
hmm
and I believe that I'm smart, and you're telling me that I have to be smart enough to know that I'm stupid in
Stupid. Yeah.
areas to then believe that you're smart in those areas, and that
So
I
I
need to
have to
believe
believe
everything
you.
you have.
Exactly.
That just infuriates me.
Exactly. I just don't like being lied to. So when people come and say, what does it matter? Well, I don't like being lied to. I don't like to be put in a cubicle. I don't like people telling me that everything is already figured out and all I have to do is trust somebody else. No. I want to make up my own mind. I could care less what somebody else thinks. That's why I'm still a level earther. People don't understand how much scrutiny we go through. Hexagons often talk about the scrutiny that I had to endure in the first 2 years. You ain't seen nothing yet. It is like peanuts. Come join the Flat Earth community for the past 8 years. Then you will know what censorship is. Then you will know what death threats are. Then you will know how your family is harassed on social media just because they are relative to you. You're being ostracized by literally by everybody. I lost pretty much the majority of all my friends and all my family, all supposedly for them, what they think is for attention. So this is my part of intention that I'm getting, supposedly. I didn't wake up one morning and thought, you know what? Let's piss off the whole world and say it's flat. That's not how it works. Once your curiosity is triggered and you actually go through the metrics and the science that they give you and verify it for yourself, you instantly become a flat earther. Or a level earther, how I want to say it.
Finbear is here to back me up on Neil deGrasse Tyson is a fucking glorified janitor, is what he says.
Exactly. He's as stupid as a bag of bricks.
Okay, let's go to the next one. We've
Yeah.
got flight paths. So here with these green lines, we're showing flight paths. And the idea here is that there are certain areas that are not getting any flights over the top of them.
Correct. Even though it would probably be a third of the distance and flight time if we do it directly. And the explanation that they give is, yeah, but we got to refuel. Okay, so the distance from, let's say, a triangulated location, let's go, say we go from Perth to Santiago. On the globe, that's about a 9-hour flight, while in reality, it's about 36 hours. Why is that? Yeah, we need to refuel. But yeah, your first stop to, probably from Perth, it's to Paris or England or Amsterdam, is longer than the direct flight to Santiago on a globe. But if you plot it out on a Gleason map, it's one straight line. Makes perfect sense.
Here's the Gleason again.
Yes. So now when you see South Africa and Perth, that is literally the opposite of each other.
South Africa is here and
Yep.
Perth is here.
Exactly. And then
And
Paris is somewhere in the middle.
And Paris is here somewhere. So what happens now? We go from South Africa to Paris to Perth?
Yeah, something similar, yeah. We have it on, was it, no, not
'Cause
South Africa, I mean Santiago in South America to Perth.
Chile.
Yeah,
Santiago here
yes.
to Paris.
Then we go to Paris, to Perth. Or to
And-
England, to Perth. Or to Amsterdam and to Perth. It's all the same general location. So it's pretty much somewhat of a straight line. While on the heliocentric model, Australia and South America are pretty much next to each other. Like there's even on Google Maps, it's only a 9-hour flight or something. But in reality, it takes 36 hours. And if you look at this map, and
why ever go over the equator? That's one
Yeah.
of the questions, right?
Yeah. If you stay on the southern hemisphere, so if you would go from a location to another location while both being on the southern hemisphere, you would never cross the equator. While literally almost every transport that we do from the southern hemisphere to another part of the southern hemisphere crosses the equator. What actually happens on a level plane.
And this argument right now could be like, well, why not just go over the South Pole?
Yeah, that would instantly disprove level Earth. That's the main argument I gave to a lot of people within the community that asked me what would be the definite proof of heliocentrism. And I said, just do north-south circumnavigation. Because every navigation known to man is east to west. Never north to south. This would instantly disprove the level Earth theory, but yet it has never been done in human history. The same as sailing around Antarctica It's about 13,000 miles to sail around Antarctica, or even less. I think it's 9, but I'm not really sure. Yet there's a complete documentation of Thomas Cook trying to sail around Antarctica, and he had to strike the whole endeavor after 60,000 miles because they didn't have food and resources anymore. So they had to abandon it. And there was another one that did it, but I can't recall his name anymore. And he had to quit after 66,000 miles. And when you try to plot that same route on a level plane, it makes sense. Because you're trying to literally follow the outer rim of a really big circle. And this is all documented things that just nobody wants to look into. Yeah, when you look at this map, and you will see all the currents, the water currents that are occurring. It's one big mess. It goes literally in every direction. It doesn't really make any sense. But if you would plot out these same currents on the Gleason map, it's a circle. The jet stream is a circle, while the jet stream on the heliocentric model literally goes in every direction. It makes no sense. Like all of a sudden it decides, you know what, I'm going to stop going straight ahead. I'm just going to turn around and go the other way. So all the currents, either ocean or air, are completely random and make no sense. But if you would plot those same currents that we measure on every location and you would plot them on a Gleason map, it makes a perfect circle. Makes perfect sense.
So this is one thing that I remember from physical geography class. The water on west coasts is colder. In the northern hemisphere is colder. So the idea is that the cold water comes down the west coast, and so for the United States, then California has really cold water, as opposed to the eastern side with the water rising from the equator. And then that's why it eventually reaches Britain, which is so much further north than like New York City, but yet its climate is is warmer and dropping water, of course, but that's why it's not frozen over, because these hotter waters are coming up. So on the eastern side, it's warm. This is for the northern hemisphere, and on the western side, it's cold water. And I would love to see this, like you're saying, on a level Earth map.
Yeah.
And
as soon as I got my PC in order,
direction.
Yeah, I can all make a proper slideshow and show you. They used to depict it on the weather sites. So there's a website. We talked about it yesterday. I can't recall what it is anymore. I need to look it up. It's been so long ago. But you could look up all the barometric pressures. You could see wind directions, wind speeds, current direction, current temperature. All those things were depicted on a map or on a globe. And then you could actually choose altitude and pressure to use for your calculations to do predictions with weather and everything. And they actually had a level plane depicting the circles. And why they put it there all that time, nobody knows. But they removed it, unfortunately, because we were using it as proof that it couldn't be what it is. So they had to remove it. What's on the other side of the ice wall? What happens at the edge of flat Earth? I can't remember any good explanations.
Turin joined the chat late, so he didn't hear our explanation of how this is. This is the Gleason map here, and I'll zoom out just a little bit. And this is where the sun and the moon rotate.
Correct.
And so outside of where the sun and moon rotate is an ice wall. And the firmament is not at the ice wall. Instead, the firmament would be more along the lines of like outside this reflection that we're seeing in the moon.
Correct.
And these red lines in here are our current ice wall, and the outer one is the ice wall, and the inner ones are the path of the sun on the Tropic of Cancer and the Tropic of Capricorn and the equator. And we need to explain that in this, do I call it a theory? In this thesis? In this what?
Well, yeah, we can call it a theory, even though
In this model?
99% of the theory is based on empirical evidence and can be verified by everybody. But yeah, it's still a theory because it is not accepted by mainstream science. It didn't go to peer review. It didn't. So within that definition, it would be a theory.
All right. So in this theory,
Mhm.
You explained to me yesterday that there's a cycle to where it is that the sun is heating inside of this
Correct.
firmament. So like we have clockwork happening inside of this scale of lands. And later on, the moon and sun will clockwork their way to other lands, and the lands that we're inhabiting right now will go under ice
Correct.
because they won't have heat anymore.
Exactly.
And so that's why we're also interested in like, you know, Tartaria or whatever these other lands are.
So within our current model, we have a really big discrepancy. So we have the North Pole, or true north, and magnetic north. So true north is what we needed for the heliocentric model to give a rotational axis, while magnetic north is actually shifting and slowly moving over Canada. Why is that? It's because magnetic north is our true north, and true north that we have within the heliocentric model doesn't exist. It only needs to be there to give an axis point for the Earth to rotate around. And the reason why the North Pole is actually shifting is what you're just explaining just now. And since the North Pole is actually, or not the North Pole, but the North Star is actually the center of our universe where the sun and the moon revolve around, and it follows that magnetic hotspot where the sun and the moon are created from, and it will follow this bigger pizza disk. So at some point, new land will appear that will appear from under the ice wall, and the ice wall at the back of us will just creep on and close new land. And if you look at the center of this big disk, there's land that we don't know that is under the O of world. That is in the Goldilocks zone, and that is Atlantis. This land will never freeze over and will always be in the Goldilocks zone that is always heated up.
That's so interesting. And this theory model makes me just feel like even more so of mind over matter. Like this makes sense when we're talking about, does it? It's like when things are explained to you and you're like, yeah, it has to be because it all fits in. All the puzzle pieces come together.
Mhm.
I need to formulate that thought more instead of just, chowing down on what you have.
Yeah, it's a slow process because you literally have to unlearn pretty much everything you've been learned to be able to even comprehend this. Because the information that was given within the heliocentric model was given to you at a really young age without any explanation or substantiating information that would actually create a true picture of what you're living on. And this is all by design. Because all the information that is being given until the age of 7 is actually stored in a part of the brain that is also responsible for fight and flight mode. And this is why people get this extreme reaction when people try to talk about level Earth. So you have, on one hand, you will have the side that instantly goes into a fight with you, or you have the ones that will stick their fingers in their ears and go la 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 la, and they're fleeing. And this is why it's so hard to convince people of reality, because you're trying to nibble on their core fundamental belief of something. It's the same thing if I'm now telling you that all apples are not green or not red, or a banana is actually red. Your core belief knows exactly what yellow is, what green is, what red is. If somebody else now tries to convince you otherwise, you would do two things. Either you will go ham on him, or you would just go, you know what? I don't want to know. I'm out of here. Even though there could be a possibility that it's actually true. But since it's part of your core belief that is stored in a part of the brain that is also responsible for this, it's really hard to get it across.
I once made my mom and aunt cry because I said the word fallacy too many times. They
A
just
lot of
couldn't
people don't
deal
even
with
know
it.
what a fallacy is.
They probably didn't know either. That's why it was
No.
like their
Yeah.
wires were crossing.
That's instantly
Spark,
what
spark.
if you think about it, why don't we teach children fallacies from a young age? Because they are there to mitigate pre-assumptions, personal feelings, attacking the person instead of the argument. It's there for a reason, to have a coherent conversation and an intellectual, honest discussion. This is the reason why we have logical fallacies or fallacies in general, to actually make a debate useful. Because if everybody just goes throwing around fallacies, we don't get anywhere. But if you were taught every fallacy, then you would be a perfect debater. And you would actually come somewhere if everybody would adhere to them. The same goes for the scientific method. It's something that is rarely used anymore.
Red Squirrel's reading my mind. I want to mention the trivium, and he also mentions the quadrivium. I don't know if I'm familiar with the quadrivium, but the trivium is grammar, logic, rhetoric.
Mm-hmm.
So grammar's so that you can communicate it. Logic is so that you can digest it, and rhetoric is so that you can communicate it, and like bounce off and get back information.
Correct.
So those the trivium is very, very important. There was a guy who was very critical of government. Gosh, I forgot what podcast he ran, and he was so strong in his beliefs of the trivium that he made it to where I was able to break through with the trivium as a toolkit. Because what we're talking about is a toolkit for a human to better themselves and to make sure that their foundation of their wires are not crossing Red Squirrel, if you would please give me a heads up on what the quadrivium is. What is
Yeah, I
what
would
is
like to know
probably
too.
added to the trivium in order to be a quad?
I'm reading a comment here. Simon Dan is there waiting for you on the other side of the wall. That's funny.
There he is.
Simon Dan is as stupid as a sack of bricks.
Turin wants to ask about UFOs going into the water.
Oh yeah. Well,
Maybe
a
we should.
UFO is just an unidentified flying object that is probably created by somebody that we don't know. And yes, we know there's more underwater than they want to let you believe. I mean, 70% of the Earth is water, and yet only 5% of it is explored. So there's way more exploration to be done in the sea than there's anywhere else. Yet we focus everything on space. That is a second law violation. So either physics isn't real or space isn't real. You can't have them both.
Red Squirrel says that the quadrivium is arithmetic, geometry.
Geometry.
Arithmetic. My bad.
Yeah.
Geometry, music, and astronomy.
Okay.
Hey, Hex Siren, welcome. Hey, everybody who didn't see the intro at the end of this, go watch the intro. It's pretty hilarious.
Yeah, it's hilarious. I loved it.
And
it was funny.
I took it from a guy who traveled the world. He's a German guy, and he says that after he took that footage, somehow it got lost. Like the name of the people in that video got lost, and he's searching for their names, their identities, so that he can send them a DVD copy of what he recorded of them.
Nice. One of the benefits of social media.
To where like I have it, but the maker doesn't. So yeah, something that's come to mind is like in the 3D group on Telegram, the Hex 3D printing, I believe it's called 3D print. Some idea that I've had lately is like, let's make some QR cards, to where like all we have to do is just have this QR card in the back of our pocket, and all we have to do is just show it to somebody in order for them to scan it and immediately have all of our contacts. Maybe it could go straight to all my links or something, but it's an idea that I have for spreading the word of Hex, because as we're continuing to get more and more seasoned, we're getting better at onboarding people, and also right now is a great time to onboard people. They're
for sure.
They might be wrecked in in
Dollar
many different
terms.
ways, looking for a rope or a ladder to climb. Let's go to the next slide. Ah, yes. I love this one because I love talking about how I'm a Cancer, and emotions run deep with this guy. And my water sign doesn't fit with fire signs. Like, they turn me to steam or I put them out. I love thinking of these elements. Whenever it is that I interact with an air sign, we can interact for a short time period, but it has its lifespan, and we separate out. So water doesn't exist in air except for whenever it's mist or fog or rain or whatever, but it separates with time. So I go well with earth signs and other water signs. And so I really appreciate looking at horoscopes, and I do know that our zodiac is a little bit tilted or something. Let's talk about this stuff, because I'm really annoyed with the calendar not respecting the moon.
Yes. That's a really good point. Because if we take the astronomy clock or use astronomy the way we should do, it's a timepiece. Then we actually have 13 months divided by 28 days, making 364 days in a year. And this all goes along with astronomy. It goes along with the natural female cycle for menstruation. It's all based on astronomy. And I want to believe this is the reason why they connected astronomy to women and make it a girly thing. So as soon as men talk about astronomy, it's instantly referred to as a girly thing. And I want to believe it's because if men would actually study it, they instantly would see the patterns and would understand something isn't adding up. And women wants to be more spiritual, so they're only looking at the different meanings of the different signs and come to their conclusion that way.
I had something. So Caltex is right on board. 13 months, 28 days per month.
Yes, it's the Enoch calendar. We now use the Gregorian calendar. Previous to that one was the Julius calendar. That was slightly different than the Gregorian, but they're all made up.
So I like talking about this because things rhyme, repetition happens, rhythm, patterns. We can recognize these things, as you said. The male mind is quick to recognize this, understanding the systems.
Yes.
And we're thrown off just slightly with 12 months instead of 13 months.
And that's just enough. And all the proof is only shown to women. It's funny how that works.
And as Richard Hart says, history does not repeat itself, it rhymes. And I know that he borrowed that from others, and
Of course.
that's a very, very it's a hell of an observation. Turin says it seems off almost on purpose.
Yes, it's all by design. So if you think about it logically, so if we would start the year and end the year, when would you, within our seasons, start a year? Would you do it in the middle of winter? Or would you do it in spring?
Spring.
Yeah. Well, the Enoch calendar, the first day of the year is actually March 22nd. When the spring starts, and the end of the year is when the winter ends.
Now, I say spring because you witness something sprouting.
Exactly. It's the birth of new life. It's a natural cycle from birth to death. You don't do it halfway and say, yeah, this is where we begin. Halfway birth or halfway death. Let's start here.
Hex Siren says she never got into astrology, but she appreciates this conversation.
Well, thank you. I love Hex Siren. She's killing it with the fitness challenge, by the way. Shout out to her.
What,
Let's go.
I see the Twitter updates from her. And so like whenever I'm doing lunges or pushing myself, because like I'm getting back into shape and getting the feeling back in the areas of my body that I hadn't felt in a while. And like I'm believe me, Hexiron, the idea of you working hard on your side gets me working hard on my side.
Mm.
So here's some footage that you did yourself.
Yes. This is
That-
done with a handheld camera.
These almost
So
look like it's a spot, like if you looked at Google Earth and you looked at like West Texas, where there's just a bunch of fields where they've they're extracting natural gas or oil.
yeah.
That's almost like what this looks like.
If you want to, here's some fun fact. So all the craters on the moon also exist here on Earth.
Hmm.
Every single one of them. So if you go back to what we saw on the previous maps, where the Earth was depicted on the moon, you will also see all the craters on it. And if you will go to the normal map of the world, where all the craters are depicted, they're exactly the same.
Did we look at a normal map anywhere? I don't think we did.
No, I don't think so. Let me
Okay.
check if I can send you something.
It might be really hard for me to bring up right now, so
Yeah.
I might not want you to do
Imagine that I took this footage with a handheld camera.
that.
And this is supposedly 349,000 kilometers away. And I can zoom it in so far that I can't see the outside of what I'm filming. The law of perspective would not allow this to be happening, because everything gets smaller over distance until it reaches a focal point. It's the law of perspective. I would not be able with any camera or any, well, maybe with a really big telescope with a big aperture, maybe, really maybe, but I should never be able to zoom in this far. I also have one with the stars that is really, I love it.
All right, we're going to the stars one. This one where it looks like it's water in between us and that light.
Yes, because what we're actually looking at is light reflection on the firmament that has water above it. So if you would look in your pool and see the reflection of light, you would see exactly the same thing. Qua structure. The light and the energy that it emits, it's from itself. So the light is just projected on it. But due to the surface tension of the water, it will give this depiction. And every star and every planet known to man will show this. Mars, Venus, Jupiter. It only turns into a planet as soon as you go to the NASA website. If any amateur films the same object, this is what you see. No matter which telescope, no matter which camera, or
So you put this on a tripod or what?
yes.
Okay.
And it's really hard to follow because we have a 15-degree shift per hour. So you have to constantly move it, because if I just leave it there for 5 to 15 seconds, it's already out of my frame. And I only have to literally move the camera a tenth of a millimeter and it will be out of the picture already, because you're zooming in so far.
All right. Those are all the slides. No, you're muted.
Did I send you the FE core data about the laser measurements that we did over lakes in America and the Netherlands?
Mm-mm.
No, I'm gonna send you that one right now. This took us literally years to set up, buy all the equipment. It's really expensive. Everything is documented. Every piece of equipment, the calibrations, the settings, the temperatures, everything is like true science. I would have thought I sent
Grounded
you.
in Hex showed up in the chat. Welcome.
Yeah, I did send it to you. The FE core
Did
laser
you?
measurements.
Okay, I
I'm gonna
overlooked it.
send it again for you.
Okay. Hexiron saying that she started getting inspired by everybody else who were telling her that they were inspired by her. So the ball is rolling. We have momentum. And the best community ever. Keltec says that they celebrate winter solstice with his wife, but we found ourselves doing it before mating. Interesting. I didn't know I was going to read that. Oh,
Thank you,
Grounded in Hex, yeah, compliments you. So I'm going to look that up, huh? You send it Twitter?
Yeah. I think we did it back in 2017 or 18, I believe.
You want me to go to this website or what?
Yeah, it's just a website. You can scroll through it. You got to take some time.
Did you mean to copy that Ethereum address?
No.
Okay.
That was the wrong one.
I'm like,
why?
Am I supposed to pay you for this?
No, not at all, man. I'm all good.
All right. So I'm trying to get my tabs in the right place. And share the screen again. Here we are. FECOR is the acronym.
This is where we did laser measurements over water, because water will always find its level. So it's the best surface to do distance calculations on and measurements. And this is where we literally disprove the curvature of the Earth. Since we were giving a certain metric, where the radius of the Earth is 3959 in miles, this will give you a circumference and a deviation of roughly 8 inches per mile squared. So thereby you can calculate how much drop you would experience over a certain distance. And yet we don't measure this at all anywhere.
Yeah, so this conversation is meant to shake people's perspective, like their perception of what is real, give them a little bit of a foundation, and then give them a little bit of an explanation going forward, so that people can be more fortified and make decisions for themselves. Yes. So that's how we ever got on the level Earth conversation. And so this is another instance where we can take devices that we have access to. And when did you do these studies?
This was in 2018, and this was majority done by other people. I just was a part of it because a lot of it was done in the Netherlands, so I could take part of it.
Sweet. I was thinking that this was like 20 years ago and that it cost a lot for these devices.
Oh,
But it
the
still cost a
laser that
lot
we
for them, huh?
used was over 10 grand, I believe.
Mhm.
This was all community funded. Like pretty much everything that we do is community funded. We have the same meetups that we have in the Hex community, where we all come together, exchange knowledge, do proper debates. Because funny enough, flat earthers are really good debaters, because we always try to be intellectually honest and only go from empirical measurements or evidence, and don't go into the realm of pre-assumptions and theoretical things that only exist on paper.
So I realize now that, yes, you have sent me this before, and yes, I
Yeah.
did look at it. It's just that we didn't do it yesterday.
Yeah, correct. So if you will scroll down, you will see all the measurements that we did from location to location, on which lake, where we did it, what the measurements were, what the temperature were. We tried to take into consideration refraction and diffraction and all of those things, just to keep it as scientifically possible. And no matter what we did, we could not detect any curvature anywhere. And the biggest argument for people that I want to give is, yeah, but the Earth is so big, you would not be able to see it or measure it. But we were given specific parameters to work from. The Earth has a radius of 3959. So it has a drop of roughly or close to 8 inches per mile squared. It is something that you should be able to measure, because over a distance of 1 mile, it's 6.6 inches. Over a distance of 100 miles, it's 666 feet, I believe. So that's a lot. So if you think of a lighthouse, the lighthouse is, let's say, 400 feet high, and you're standing on the shore, and let's say you're 6 feet tall. If you're looking at a lighthouse at, let's say, 70 miles, it should be behind a drop of 2,996 feet. Yet the lighthouse is only 600 feet high, or 300 or 400 feet high. So it should be behind the physical curve of the Earth by 1,600 feet or even more. And yet we can see it from bottom to top. This could not happen on a globe.
And I think
And
people would
we-
want to tell you that your vision is being curved with the
Correct.
Earth because of the gases or something that are in the atmosphere.
Yeah, that's the argument that I want to give. But if you truly want to calculate refraction, you need to have every measurement forever. Let's say the more measurements you have throughout the distance and the observation that you're doing, the better your refraction calculation will be, because you need to know the density, the temperature, the elevation for every meter, and then calculate your refraction. And what you will find out is that refraction isn't a specific direction. It's pretty much omnidirectional. It can go in any direction. So refraction doesn't follow a specific trajectory. So it could bend up, it could bend down, it could bend left, it could bend right, due to refraction, due to the atmosphere between you and the object that you're observing. So giving the argument that it's actually curving perfectly around the sphere is just pseudoscience. And people want to bring up refraction, even though they have no clue what refraction is, because there are so many forms of refraction. I believe there are 7. You have stretching, looming, compression, miraging. There's so many forms of refraction that could be implemented or evoked in a certain situation. So if you want to evoke it, first state which one you're actually referring to, and then tell me why it's occurring, or try to prove why it's occurring. And there are actually websites where you can put in all the measurements and give it a refraction index. And even if we would slide the refraction index to maximum, that is completely out of proportion, you don't even come close to the curvature of the Earth. There's so many things that just don't add up. But nobody verifies. Everything that we do now is solely trust-based. We have to trust that everything they tell us is true. And we don't have to verify it. When I was in science class, my teacher always said, science doesn't adhere scrutiny. Then why am I scrutinized as soon as I start scrutinizing science? Even though that's one of the first lessons you get in science class. Science doesn't adhere scrutiny. It should be scrutinized to keep it real and honest. And yet we're not allowed to do so anymore.
Back to Neil deGrasse Tyson saying, you don't know what you don't know. That's why I need to tell you about this thing that happened trillions of years ago. And because I know that it happened trillions of years ago.
Or
Asshole.
Elon Musk. It looks looks real. It looks, what was his expression
It looks
again?
fake. That's how you know it's real.
Yeah, it looks so fake. That's how I know it's real. I mean, come on. And people actually believe that he shot a Tesla into space.
These people have more money than you, so
Yeah.
you have to believe them.
Yeah, it's so funny.
So because this is cryptocurrency stream, let's bring this to a close, but not before we mention that there is a bounty on there is a Bitcoin bounty for whomever can prove that the Earth, the heliocentric model, right?
Correct.
Can you tell us? Can you tell us about like these bounties?
Yeah. I believe it started off with, and this was in probably 2017, where we gathered around a lot of money from the community. It was roughly around $40,000 or $50,000, and we would give it to any astronaut that would go in his spacesuit into the NASA vacuum chamber and show that the suit was actually capable of giving life support in somebody in a vacuum, but nobody did it. Well, still we could imagine, why entertain this? We could imagine why they didn't want to do it. So we upped the ante. Then I think it was Flat Earth Millionaire that came up with, you know what? I'm going to travel the whole United States with $1 million in a suitcase in cash, and travel to any university and every professor or any PhD and show me how they can physically show me how water could stick to the outside of a ball while spinning 50 degrees an hour. If you could scientifically prove that this could exist, then you would be given $1 million. And I know that David Weiss has 3 Bitcoin as a bounty if you can prove either, I believe it's gas pressure without the necessary antecedent of a container. This is how pressure is dictated within science and also described within the second law of thermodynamics. Actual rotation by any means. Curvature by any means. The fact of a self-perpetuating molten iron core in the center of our Earth. There were more. We call them the housekeeping questions surrounding level Earth. If you could give empirical evidence to either of them, you would be rewarded 3 Bitcoin. And this is standing now since 2018. and counting. So
Sweet.
if you want to be rich, just prove you're living on a spinning ball, hurtling through space in an absolute vacuum, defying literally natural law, physics, and science.
Yeah, whoever's listening to this, you could probably negotiate that $1 million worth of a briefcase.
Yeah. And even I said it in the spaces when people just want to go the aggressive route, the la 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 one. I said, if you love T-shares so much, I'll be willing to give away T-shares to anybody that give me empirical evidence of the heliocentric model. I'll be gladly giving away T-shares. But
We're
nobody
ready to
can.
learn. Yeah.
Yeah.
Cool, man.
Yeah.
Thanks for being on the show today.
Thank you, man.
This is a community effort. I don't think I even introduced like what this is. This is Hex Foodies live stream. It's Tuesday at noon every week, noon Central U.S. time, that is, where it finds you. Thank you for being here. And we typically go over the stuff that's at the t.me/Hex Foodies chat on Telegram. That's t.me/Hex Foodies. So you could just type that into your browser. It would bring you to Telegram to download Telegram if you haven't already. Nardo for the win. Welcome.
My buddy. Nick is a legend.
You guys.
Oh yeah.
You
Yeah, we
guys hung
talked
out
on the park. Yeah.
Sweet.
Yeah, I love Nick. If you want to talk about a true, honest, integrity guy, Nick is your man. I don't meet people as genuine as he is. What you see is what you get. No sugarcoating, no bullshit, no. Yeah.
Grounded in Hex says that it's the level Earth that's pumping our Hex bags right now.
Yeah. People don't want to acknowledge the ramifications that it would have as soon as you acknowledge reality. People want to keep on saying, what does it matter? It doesn't change anything for me. The only reason why they can say that, because they didn't experience the other side. As soon as you experience the other side, you know exactly how important it is. And I want to shout you out as well.
Thanks.
If anybody hasn't seen the stream with his dad, I really recommend you to do so. I love your father, man. Damn, that guy reported everything. In my book, that's a true scientist.
Yeah.
A true own data, own conclusions. I love it. Yeah. So shout out to you, man. I don't
Thanks.
understand why you have so few followers and so few. It's always an
so
interesting
funny.
topic. It's always educational.
So the episode with my dad was about vitamins. And
yeah,
it was 2 episodes ago. And I want to take clips and sum up the thing because I believe that, the better we can make ourselves, the better we can interact with everything around us. And, the more power we have in digesting all of these ideas that are brought to our attention. My father, let me brag on him. He was a guy who understood systems. And so when it was that he got out of college and went and worked in Houston for the oil industry, he optimized systems like how the computers work with the human beings because he was a part of accounting.
Yeah.
so he optimized systems and basically made it like he tells me that uh, a bunch of people hated him after a little while because he optimized a system that took away their overtime pay, in doing all the accounting work, like from
Yeah.
all the shit that came in, all the calculations that came in from the oil fields and stuff they had to do there in Houston by paper. And
Yeah.
once they started understanding the systems to be brought into the computer, then he realized that he was just going to be like in this same old state or in this same old job. And then my mom and him met because they worked in different portions of the same office. So after they had like a few burglaries at their home while they were out at work, they decided, like, if we're gonna have whenever we're gonna have kids, let's go back to my dad's hometown where I am now, because we have an established family business where my grandparents were running an auto parts store. So my dad, like my grandmother made lunch every day for my dad and my grandfather, who worked at the auto parts store and took their shifts for lunch. And my dad, he kind of like, as I was growing up, he pushed all of his needs, down the,
Yeah. On the
kick
back
the
burner.
can down the road.
Yeah.
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 And so we grew up with vacations. We grew up with all sorts of things, everything that we needed. And then once it was that I went off to college and I was just about to graduate from college, and my grandparents were just about at the end of their life, and they had already retired because they were that World War II era where like everybody just continues to work until their body doesn't support it anymore. So my father, he sold the business as he was transferring his life over to being my grandfather's daycare, basically. So he was, taking my grandfather to and from the toilet, sort of thing, in those days, and that lasted for about 3 years. So my dad, I got him an iPad, and like with the money that I was making in Houston whenever I went to Houston and got out of college and everything. And that like sparked him up a bit. Him having a computer of his own.
Yeah.
And he started looking into things and YouTubing and freeing his mind. And so I saw him go from like reading only Civil War books and current day political jargon books
Mhm.
to books
Reality.
that talk about like get your health right now or die, or like clean the mercury out of your teeth because it's just constantly off gassing. Just on and on and on about you're eating poison.
Oh yeah.
So he started looking at the stuff that the doctors tell you, and he started looking at his own health, and he put puzzle pieces together of what family friends told them that they're going through. And like family friends of ours have passed away from these very simple things that shouldn't have been. And yeah, so props to my dad for having the audacity to face these things, because I'm also coming in and saying like, hey, have you recognized how
Yeah.
bad government is beating
Yeah.
us down, keeping us in a bubble, having it to where like the IRS is tricking us into participation.
Yeah. Who was previously living within his narrative of books, and that's the main thing they want to keep reiterating. That's why the Second World War, 9/11, all those things are every year on a rerun. Never forget, never forget, never forget. They want to keep the narrative alive for as long as they can, to as many people as they can. And as soon as people start getting out of the narrative and actually engaging with true information like your dad did, it's revelating. It's you get a sense of purpose again. You get a sense of true innovation again, like things that nobody else wants to talk about or even acknowledges. And then, yeah, men truly need a purpose in life. They need a goal. They need something to strive to. And everything a man needs is a strong woman behind him, taking care of business so he can do the things that he needs to do. This is how I think nature was designed to do so. Not the way we are living now, where we're literally forced to have double jobs due to inflation, taxation, and everything, all by design. Now, both parents need to work to provide for everything. And the consequence of this whole thing is that we now have to give our kids to somebody else for the next 12 years and let them raise our kids out of necessity, because they created a world where we need to work our ass off 24/7 to provide for everything. Even though when my dad was my age, he had a single job. My mom didn't work. He bought a new house, bought a new car. We went on holiday every year, all on one salary. And within 2 or 3 decades, it's all gone. Now people have to work 2 jobs, 2 parents, all by design. It's unfortunate, but
something that comes to mind to me is a book that I read that was Small is Beautiful. Treat people. It's something about like treating people as if they mattered. Was like the subtitle. And the idea behind the book was just to get going on something that's productive, because every man needs an activity, a goal to strive for, and they need to know that they're helping the people around them, that they're wanted, that they have appreciation for what it is that they're producing.
Yeah, we're programmed to provide. Same as in the animal kingdom, it's exactly the same. The male are there to provide and protect.
I'd like to press that down, or press that into everybody today. Attempt to go up to somebody and tell them that you appreciate them, or find it inside your own mind of why it is that you appreciate someone in your vicinity. I challenge people to do that today. Sweet, man. Let's call this. And I've got a weird exit video as well. So
love it. If it's as good as the intro one, we're good.
So sign us off, and then I'll play that and we'll be gone.
Yeah, everybody like, subscribe, Hex Foodies, facing reality out.